Today we are going to be having an all advisory body briefing, and this is going to be focused on the overview of the research and data needs review process. I will just welcome everybody here and say thank you. I'm Marlene Bellman. I'm staff with the Pacific Fishery Management Council, and I staff the Scientific and Statistical Committee as well as groundfish items for the council. I'll be hosting this today and providing an overview presentation for you on this particular topic. It should last about 20 minutes, and then we will have, we'll stop the recording and we'll have some engagement, perhaps with the advisory bodies. If we need some additional clarifications or if you have questions that I can facilitate with the SSC for you. And then we'll have a public comment period at the end as well. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish today. My presentation today will also be posted to the website, the meeting website that is at the very top of the chat. The recording will also be posted there as well after it's been processed. In addition, I will be speaking to some of the advanced briefing book items for the April Council meeting, and I also put a link to the briefing book as well if you wanted to look at some of the things that I'll be going over during the presentation today. So let's get started on where the Council is in this process for reviewing their research and data needs. The Council is required to review these research and data needs and update and communicate them by the Magnuson-Stevens Act. We have Council Operating Procedure 12 that is used as sort of our standard guide that guides this review cycle, and it's done on approximately every 5 years. The Council also has a website. There's a page under the Resources tab called Research and Data Needs. Most of the content on that website is actually that was completed the last round that the Council did this review. There was a final document as well as the work that was done to transition that final document from 2018 into a research priorities database. Feedback noted from the last review cycle included a desire to streamline this process and more efficiently identify high priority research and data needs. So we have a little bit of a changed objective for this round to try to better prioritize and streamline the process. As noted in the links provided on this slide, many of which I just recently updated, most councils use a tiered type approach to help organize and streamline this exercise, often with very high level categories or themes, and then some form of sub-tiers. Again, I welcome you to go in and review some of the outcomes of how the other councils have potentially approached this process and what types of documentation or final products they're utilizing. This review cycle for the Council is currently scheduled as a 3-meeting process. We had the addition of a meeting to identify science and management challenges, and that was intended to initially guide the process from the beginning. And then there's the regular schedule for a Council meeting to select the preliminary priorities, and finally, the final Council meeting to adopt a final list of priorities. We're currently at Council Meeting 2, that's sort of the orange shading in this slide, where the SSC has developed preliminary recommendations and the Council will consider those. And then there will be one more round before the final Council meeting, and the outcomes of those will be communicated. At the first meeting in November of 2024, the Council focused on articulating their science and management challenges that they've been facing in recent years. The word challenge, the challenge term was used to define a high-level research need that crosses more than one fishery management plan and that can have multiple research topics or data gaps. Council advisory bodies also provided feedback in November of 2024 on specific examples of these challenges that they were experiencing, both within and across FMPs. At that time, the Council adopted the following list of science and management challenges as sort of broad level categories to be able to organize their research and data needs. These were listed and provided also with descriptions in the SSC report at the time. Now we are at the April 2025 council meeting where this council is scheduled to adopt the preliminary research and data needs. The Scientific and Statistical Committee has provided a report that is a compilation of their preliminary recommendations to the council, and each of them are listed under the challenges as potential solutions that they could consider to address those challenges. When the SSC went forward to compile this product, they incorporated feedback from advisory bodies. They reviewed a lot of the research and data needs from the previous cycle. They focused on a lot of these by FMP to ensure that they had broad coverage from the different subcommittees. And they did all of this prior to generating this final report for the advanced briefing book. This summer at the June council meeting, the council is scheduled to adopt the final research and data needs. The council may wish to refine their preliminary priorities between April and June as well. And the outcome of the June meeting is what will be incorporated into a letter of transmittal to NIMPS, which is the requirement under the Magnuson-Stevens Act. And then we're also hoping to have some broader outreach distribution to a lot of our partners that can potentially address some of these research needs and data gaps that the council has. So in the following slides, I'd like to provide more of a condensed verbal overview of what is contained in the SSC Report 1. I've left the full language description for each challenge and each research and data need in the slide. So I'm giving you some warning that there's going to be a lot of words, but I'm going to cover some of this content a little bit quickly. Again, this is the SSC's compilation, and so I'm just giving you an overview of what they have provided. I'll also note that the materials that they're providing, there is no implied ranking or inherent order. So the council has, numbering for the challenges or bullet points, and they're not intended to imply any prioritization at this time, neither for the challenges or the research and data needs that are listed in the report. The first challenge for data collection was the largest. It had the largest number of research and data needs identified by the SSC. And so they decided to use 4 subcategories for this challenge in order to help organize them better. The age structures subcategory included 2 research and data needs relating to aging methods and sampling procedures. The indices of abundance subcategory had 6 research and data needs, many that are specific to current fishery independent surveys, both in terms of their coverage and methods used for developing the indices, as well as some expansion or development needs that they saw. The use of fishery dependent and citizen science is also included as a recommendation and would be applicable across many and multiple FMPs. The catch subcategory encompasses both landings and discards, and it includes 6 specific recommendations. Some of them are, again, specific to certain FMPs, and several of them will apply across multiple FMPs. The last data collection subcategory was ecosystem monitoring, and this was 2 research and data needs relevant to new data sources and also existing monitoring programs. The second of the Council's adopted challenges related to stock assessment methodologies. The SSC had compiled 9 recommendations under this challenge. Some of those recommendations, again, you'll notice are explicit to individual FMPs like groundfish or CPS, or salmon, and they have challenges within each of these. These are several more that were continued from the previous slide. And again, I welcome folks to go in and look a little bit more closely at some of the detail that is listed in each of these research and data needs within the SSC report. The Council's third adopted challenges relates to life history and stock structure. and there were 8 preliminary recommendations from the SSC. Many of these recommendations include terminology or parameters that we often hear about in stock assessment work, like natural mortality, growth, fecundity, stock definition research is mentioned, a number of items related to salmon management, and several others. The challenge in evaluating fishery impacts. This is associated with the variety of management measures that the Council chooses to utilize. It also includes incidental mortality and other assumptions that they are utilizing when they're trying to estimate fishery impacts. So that's what this challenge is intended to encompass. The SSC had 7 recommendations. It included a really broad one regarding the evaluation of competing ocean uses, improving location data for catch and effort, as well as a list of other research and data needs specific to salmon and modeling fishery impacts in salmon FMP. The next challenge of a changing ecosystem is observed in both our fishery science and management components that we're addressing at this point. The SSC had 6 recommendations that touched on environmental and ecosystem variability, as well as the development of indicators and different relationships that are important to both management and science. Harvest policy is a different challenge than fishery impacts because it focuses more on harvest control rules and the reference points that are used. The SSC had 10 preliminary recommendations for this challenge, including the use of management strategy evaluations, and many of those that cross FMPs. There is one specific recommendation to the harvest control rule for sardine, and another one that's fairly specific to time area management for salmon. But most of these, again, are those that would cross various FMPs for the Council. This slide just represents the continuation of those 10 challenges under this, or the 10 recommendations for research and data needs underneath this challenge. Economic data and analytical tools, they focus on the challenge to develop and evaluate fishery management policies as well. The SSC had 8 preliminary recommendations, mainly related to surveys, models, and particular needs for this type of analysis. Again, this is a continuation of those 8 research and data needs under economics. The SSC continued to separately distinguish the challenges related to economics versus social science. And so they had 4 preliminary recommendations focused on fishing communities that they've listed under the social science category. The final challenge encompasses both habitat science and spatial management. This is a particular way of wording and combining these 2 topics. The SSC had 4 preliminary recommendations. They note some fundamental information that is needed, like habitat use by life stage. Much of that information is used to inform a number of the tools that the Council is currently using, as well as sources of variation in their distribution and evaluation of impacts and effects. So that's the final challenge and sort of preliminary list from the SSC related to specific research and data needs. Again, please have a look at the report in the advanced briefing book in order to dive into more of the details. At this point, I'd like to just switch over a little bit to introducing what we're hoping advisory bodies might want to weigh in on relative to the process. Again, you have lots of great Council staff that is here and will be here in April to help you navigate and formulate some of your thoughts on research and data needs moving forward. There's one gentleman here who's decided to retire since this photo was taken. But again, please work with your staff for various advisory bodies or myself. Feel free to reach out relative to your thoughts on this coming into the April meeting. What I'd like to do today is see if we can get any just initial clarifications or questions that advisory bodies might have. And in order to both provide any answers, if you'd like to communicate those to various folks on the SSC that might be able to better address those questions than I could. I will also note that this topic is on the SSC agenda on Thursday, April 10th at 11 a.m. and the SSC will be meeting remote for April. So look for those links if you'd like to tune in and listen to the SSC's discussion on this item. Advisory body statements, you can choose to provide a statement under agenda item C2 if you'd like to offer any additional perspective that the council might want to consider in their decision making. So at this point, I'm going to ask to stop the recording and be able to take any questions, comments, or clarifications that folks might have. Thanks.